And now, the Wad Fam Chalk Pod.
Hello and welcome to the Wad Fam Chalk Pod. I'm Dylan Weaver.
And I'm Andrew Sabo.
And we are here this week talking about episode 837, Out of the Picture.
As opposed to being in the picture.
Correct. Because he was just, I guess he blocked himself in the picture.
It was like a
Buck's
selfie.
parents are out of the picture.
Yeah.
It's a title.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It's probably a good title.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe.
The cover art for this album is also this episode.
Yeah, I noticed
Always
that.
fun when we get to cover one of those.
Yeah, very interesting. Well, especially because I have such little familiarity with this era of the show.
Right, for
seeing
sure.
this album cover forever being like, why are... That's not really ever explained, why Penny and Wooten are scuba diving.
No. We're in the 6-episode album section of the show now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, this is what we think of kind of when we think modern Odyssey.
Mm-hmm. The Odyssey that we're getting and the format that we're getting it. Because new Odyssey started with Stoica, arguably, right? I mean...
Right, yeah, oh, for sure. I mean,
this is like...
Yeah.
This is streaming platform, Adventures in Odyssey Club, or... No, it's Odyssey Adventure Club. I don't know. One of them.
Yeah.
Which...
It was originally the Odyssey Adventure Club, then it became Adventures in Odyssey Club.
Yeah, why did they... I feel like that was an oversight, and I'm sure we've talked about that on the podcast before.
Yeah, I mean, it was just like, this branding's not working.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an episode that originally was released on the Adventures in Odyssey Club in January of 2018, and then aired on the radio in May of 2018. So this is a just pre us starting the show.
Yeah, wow. Interesting.
Yeah, it's written by Kathy Buchanan.
Love to see it.
Directed by Dave Arnold.
Interesting.
Who we haven't talked about in a while.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's here directing, and then we jump a bit in what we've been covering. So it's like a 5. If you're going by like when the episode was first available to listen to, it's a 5-year jump between Home Again and now this episode, which is such a big hole in the series. And like obviously we've dealt with stuff like that before, especially in the Blackard era. Although like even then there was so many episodes in between. I don't know that there were that many years because they just put out so many episodes a year. Yeah. But like it's not that crazy that we have this jump, but it is just weird. And I think like only covering it this way makes it weird, because like the stuff that we miss is like Katrina and Eugene taking in Buck and like fostering him.
Yep.
And also Penny and Wooten getting married, which happened pretty like 2 years before this episode, or I guess more like a year before this. No, year and a half.
Okay.
I'll give it a year and a half before this episode is when Penny and Wooten get married. So it's like we've been following obviously Penny and Wooten through a lot of these episodes we've been covering, but just as kind of like nervous kids getting to know each other. Yeah. And now they're married.
Yeah, that in true evangelical pipeline fashion. You find somebody, you like them well enough, and then you marry them forever.
Yep.
And there are worse strategies. I'm of the mindset that you kind of make your soulmate, and it has a lot more to do with the dynamic of the relationship and how you communicate and how you overcome problems. But like also, I don't know. I'm surrounded by people getting married at a very young age, and it does give me cause for hesitation on such matters. Yeah. Even though I love them all dearly.
Aw. It's very sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Also,
you know me.
Cast-wise in this episode, we have Lee Merriweather as Felicia Larson. That's the only character she's ever played on Adventures in Odyssey. But she's had a very, very prolific career, especially in 60s and 70s television. She was Catwoman on the Batman 66.
What?
Yeah. Also had a recurring role on the original Mission Impossible TV show, on the new Andy Griffith show. She's got 120 credits, and most of them are from back in the day.
Wow, that's
it's
so
just
interesting.
it's classic Odyssey casting, but I like it.
Yeah, no, I really do appreciate it. And we'll get into it when we talk about this episode, but I think it gives me a lot of hope for newer Odyssey episodes with how I'm seeing the relationships be presented in this one.
Yeah.
And we'll get into it later.
And then we also have Fred Tatasciore as Bradford. Bradford was Wooten's childhood butler. He had previously been on the show, but at that time was played by Bob Hoose.
Okay,
which
that
I
was
think
my question.
Yeah, which I think is interesting. So this was years prior that he was doing that, and I think. I don't remember enough about Bob Hoose to know. I assume he just was no longer working on the show at this time, but it seems weird that it was he was previously voiced by an Odyssey staple guy, and instead we're pulling in this other guy to do the voice this time. It was just an interesting thing. I don't know. It stood
and so
out to
does
me.
The same guy voice him again the next time? Because
it looks like he has one more appearance and is voiced by Fred again.
Okay.
But yeah, Bob Hoose, his last episode that he produced was in 2015. So it looks like he had maybe left the show, and so that's why they did the recast. Also, it's such a minor character that who's gonna notice?
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, Fred.
Well, and it was 15 years.
Right.
In between,
for
the
sure.
fun of it, his last voice appearance.
Fred Tatasciore, though, we've previously talked about because he voiced Officer Penrose and Phil the newscaster in A Penny Saved.
Interesting.
So yeah, that even
New
itself
face around salami.
Was just to once again reiterate how ridiculous it is. That was 7 years prior to this episode.
Wow. Yeah.
They
really slowed down in the production, I guess, and it just really...
Yeah. I mean, they only do 12 regular episodes and 12 club episodes a year.
Yeah.
And that's been the case for, I don't know, 6 years now?
Yeah, longer than that. Didn't the club start in...
I think 2015 is about when it started.
Maybe I'm wrong. I think you're probably right, because it was right after The Ties That Bind.
Yeah, it was.
Did that album sync this show? Kind of. It's still
Did that
in production.
Sync this show? Okay, 2014. So,
2014. That's
a year prior, but
that's 7 years though.
Yeah,
that's bonkers.
Yep. Oh yeah, it is. It is wild how long the show has existed in this format.
Yes, exactly.
That's over their entire age range, almost twice. They've almost cycled through their target demographic twice.
Yeah, since they've had this.
Since they've
had this format.
Yep.
Wow. I mean, I don't know. I have mixed feelings. I think that they're doing the best that they can in certain respects. And yeah, I don't want to get ahead of myself because I have stuff to say regarding this episode as it fits into the scope of Odyssey as a whole.
Yeah. It's an interesting one to talk about for sure.
But we won't talk about it. You'll have to.
Nope. You got to find another podcast for that.
Yeah. We're going to talk about all the context and tell you everybody that's involved in it and not tell you anything as to what happens.
Right. And with that being said, I think it's promo time.
Promo time.
Next time on Adventures in Odyssey, Whit and Eugene are fishing when they get a big surprise. What? Wooten!
Wooten and Penny have made a discovery while scuba diving.
It appears to be a digital camera, so certainly not an antique.
Are you saying there could still be pictures on it, Eugene?
Oh, it is conceivable.
Solve the mystery of the underwater camera. Next time on Adventures in Odyssey.
The mystery of the underwater camera.
Yeah, it's
A much worse title for this episode.
yeah, quite the caper.
An
Is that even
antique
possible?
digital camera.
Like, to have a digital camera sit on the bottom of a lake and then drag it out and still be able to get pictures off of it?
Off the SD card? Yeah. You're going to deal with, like, corrosion of the metal. Mm-hmm. But, like, SD cards don't, like, yeah. I mean, Whit says it, or Eugene says it, where they're like, there's no moving parts. But it's like, yeah, I mean, those things are, like, waterproof.
Oh. Wow, okay.
Like, it's
I
just-
wasn't sure that wasn't a stretch of the imagination for
No.
that to be possible.
No.
Okay.
No.
No.
But yeah, this episode, and I think it's interesting because we hear it a lot in that little bit of promo as well, is, I think, over-engineered
Yes.
on the sound end,
Yes.
which is, yeah, interesting.
Different.
So it's Jonathan Crow who's doing the sound design, who has been with the show for a while. Like, he was there pre-reboot. He did the first half of the Green Ring episodes. He did the Labyrinth. Like, it's not like he's just some
He just
spring
fumbled the
chicken.
bag.
He also did Rydell Revelations. But, like, he is... But
that had pretty good sound
I was going to say,
engineering.
all stuff that I think is sound engineered well, but then, like, especially the beginning of this episode is just so over the top.
Yeah, it's bad.
And there's
in the water and all of it, yeah.
There's a note on the wiki which says that both the theme music being whistled, which is a fun touch, followed by a scene of people fishing, are likely a reference to the intro to the Andy Griffith Show. And so I wonder if in doing that homage/parody, he just got a little too tied up.
Yeah, he
and
hammed it
just-
up to get his point across.
Right.
Because, get it, Felicia Larson's here and she was on the Andy Griffith Show.
Right. And it's just, it's so much.
It's a lot. I mean, that's a lot of sloshing water, and it feels like
Yeah.
it's right in my headphones.
Right. And what he doesn't... obviously, if you've seen the album cover, you get it. But if you're just listening to the episode, as I was, so it's Whit and Eugene out fishing at Trickle Lake, and I was assuming they were sitting on a dock, not, like, out in a canoe.
No, yeah, it does not
I
sound
don't-
like... Or in a lake. I mean, yeah, they could have been maybe sitting in a kayak in the ocean at, like, high tide. and I would have believed that.
For sure, for the amount of sound. But I'm just saying, just, like, from pure, like, not even bringing in the sound, but just, like, context clues and whatnot. Like, I was not thinking, like, oh, this is very clearly, like, them... Like, I wasn't just, in my mind, I wasn't picturing them in a canoe, and so it just made the scene unfolding weird.
Yeah.
But no, it is, so they're out there in the canoe. Buck did not feel like coming along, and they're fishing, which is a nice, I like that Eugene fishes still.
Love that follow through from ice fishing.
Yeah,
introduced.
I was gonna say, album 7.
Yeah.
Like, thing that's laid in that then I feel like has popped up different times throughout the series, and then comes up here, and it's like sad that Tom's not there, but
Yeah.
you know,
You can't have it all.
still love that. And then Penny and Wooten,
Well, there's like a Jaws bit.
right? Yes,
There's
yes,
like a
Andrew.
da-da-da-da.
We can't forget the
And
Jaws
then
bit.
out of the water, presumably right onto the microphone, splashes Wooten. And him and Penny are scuba diving.
Yes,
Okay.
they scuba dive all the time at Trickle Lake.
Yep.
And have competitions to see who can find the weirdest thing. And Wooten found a tricycle.
How many dead bodies have they found?
And Penny found a camera. And probably some. But also,
Yeah.
I like
It's
this
Odyssey,
idea. Well, I like this idea that Picture Perfect Odyssey, Trickle Lake, which is so essential, is just full of garbage.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, most lakes are at the bottom, just full of garbage.
I know, but
various.
The scuba thing is wild.
Yeah. I'm willing to suspend disbelief for the man who has a slide in his house that owns his own scuba gear, but I do not think that it is legal to just scuba wherever.
Yeah. I also would like to point out...
Does he have his license? You definitely need a license to do it unsupervised. Wooten.
Also, the cover art has Wooten holding the camera. I'm pretty sure Penny's the one who finds it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Wooten was occupied with a tricycle. And
right.
Maybe the dead bodies. We don't know.
Yeah.
I'm sure if I scuba dived at the bottom of the Susquehanna, I would... Scuba dove. I would find more than just a tricycle and a camera. I'll say that.
Yeah. So
probably a new super drug.
Find the cure to COVID.
Yeah, at the bottom.
Yeah.
It's right past super heroin.
It's like heroin, but super. So right, then there's this whole dialogue, and Wit's like, I'll have to figure out what's on. I don't understand the antique camera thing. Mm-hmm. It's very weird.
Yeah.
It's like because it's not even a film camera. It's a digital camera. Like, what are they doing? How young is Penny supposed to be?
I mean, definitely Wooten's age, presumably.
But she, or Connie's age. I mean, she was in college in Green Ring.
Yeah.
But like, why does she think she's an artist? She should know what a camera is.
Ideally, or at least what an antique camera looks like, because they're very different from digital cameras.
Yeah,
they're not similar.
They said antique camera. I was just like, where is this story going?
Yeah.
And then it's like, no, that's a digital camera. And I'm like, my word, I grew up with a film camera.
Yeah, I had disposable cameras.
No, not disposable, sir.
You had a film camera?
Not me personally, but like that's what we had at my family had. Mm-hmm. All of our pictures were taken on film for the first, like, I don't know, pushing 6 or 7 years of my life, probably.
Okay, that's fair.
So, yeah,
we definitely had film cameras, but we then got digital ones pretty early on.
Yeah. Regardless, it's just it's a weird thing, but. And maybe this is the reason it's antique, is just so they could lay this, like, seed in. Did you listen to this episode more than once?
I did not.
Okay. I did, in that I listened to it immediately back to back. As Chris was reading the credits, I rewound it.
Yeah, that was my thought. I almost did the same thing, actually.
Because I forgot to prepare for this episode until I was driving here to record it.
It happens.
It does. Work is busy right now. School year has begun. Mm-hmm. But so Wooten goes, I should send it to Bradford. Mm-hmm. He says about, like, the antique camera.
Yeah, why?
Because he's like, Bradford likes antiques, I should send it to Bradford. Which is only there so that on, like, to, like, plant that seed, or so that on second watch you can be like, they're so clever.
No.
Didn't work for me.
No. No. I mean, it's planted evidence.
It is. It's weird.
Yeah.
Hey, that character that we haven't mentioned in years, I should send him this camera.
Because he loves antique cameras that have been at the bottom of a lake. This camera does not work.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, they do have that good joke where she's like, it's covered in fish eggs, and he's like, he likes caviar as well.
Yeah, that was funny. That did make me laugh.
Yeah.
And then, so they're going to dry out the memory card and see if there's any pictures on it. Like, that's the plot resolution of that scene. And then we cut to Eugene and Katrina, and Katrina is very distraught, and Eugene calls her on it right away in a really cute way. Because this is the first episode we're covering for the show where we have Eugene and Katrina and Buck as a family unit.
Yes.
I mean, I mean, I guess maybe comes up.
Isn't there one Rydell episode that Buck's in? But I guess they're not really all in it. Mm-hmm. And obviously, I heard you cover Connie the counselor.
Yeah.
So I've listened to that episode, which is my only other real reference point here. But
no, yeah. So it's interesting to see Eugene in that capacity where he's like when I grew up with Eugene, obviously he was like the bachelor working at wit's end and everything, and now he's like coming home as a parent and talking to his wife who's upset. So I thought that was interesting and cool.
Sweet.
And there's a letter from Skint.
Right. Well, yeah. So a letter that Buck sent to Skint that was then returned to sender because he wasn't at the location. And they're kind of Katrina's distraught, and they're trying to figure out like why would he do something like that, whatever. But in one of a just flat out excellent move on the part of the show. They do not open the letter.
No.
Can we just talk about how great it is that they don't open the letter?
Yeah, of course. I didn't even pick up on that because, no, you definitely don't want to cross that boundary with your kids.
No, and I'm so glad that like they don't, and it's like a thing that comes up because then we get
Katrina
the scene.
and Eugene are such good parents. I feel like,
and we get the scene where Buck comes in and is asking about. And they're asking him about it, and he says, like, didn't you just open it up? And Eugene's like, no.
Didn't he say, like, that would be a felony or something?
No, I think he said, like, that would be, like, like an invasion of privacy or something.
Yeah.
Which is great.
And, especially for Buck being, went in middle school, high school at this point.
Yeah, I think 16 at this point.
Giving him his autonomy in that respect is that's really good for a parent. Especially reaching out to a criminal. Like, I'm impressed by the restraint.
Yeah, I like the restraint. I like that they're willing to have a conversation, that they're not coming in accusatorily. It is just one of those moments where I'm like, just, like, focus on the family, like, fundamentally, like, understand how to parent. Like, as much as we, like, lob stuff against them and have a lot of problems, I am still like, that is good parenting. And maybe that is Kathy Buchanan. And that is not the organization as a whole. But I feel like throughout the show, despite it, being, focused on the family presents Adventures in Odyssey, when we do get into family stuff, we usually come away pretty positively.
Yeah, they emphasize the relationships really well, and I think that like having a Christian perspective for that is so valuable in how you treat other people, especially like when you're showing family models. And they seem to be taking, a more metered, not like hyper traditional or anything, where it's just very loving, very intentional, and caring, like nurturing, but not smothering. Yeah,
and like we've talked about it before with like Barkley family stuff when we were going through all that, or when we did the episodes with Arthur Woods and we did the Kelly stuff with the Washingtons, and it's all like throughout that, I feel like, or even the stuff we did back in Novacom with like the Under the Influence episodes with the Shepherds.
Yeah,
just like there is a fundamentally like good understanding of like healthy family relationships that is a through line throughout this show, that even as the show makes decisions that frustrate me and focus on the family as an organization is so often a thing that I don't feel like I can support even slightly. There is this route where it's like, oh yeah, but they like there's a level to which they do get it, and I do think they're doing a good job. And there are things I wish they didn't meddle in, but I do have to like, I don't know, give a little bit of appreciation to like this scene and other stuff, because I feel like there are other voices within conservative Christianity that would be like, no, absolutely, your kids have no rights, you open that dang letter.
You read all of their texts and everything.
Right. Exactly. Like that like level of like supervision, overbearing parent, the not giving your child any, like, not allowing them to have any privacy is like a trend amongst Christian families, like, and beyond for sure. But like that is a thing that I can think about in a couple instances and whatnot. Those things seem fairly close together in my mind.
Yeah.
And so I find it interesting that it's a point at which focus is actually contrasting, and I agree more with it.
Oh, 100%.
At least,
and I'm hoping
yeah.
these are Kathy Buchanan's fingerprints, because it
Right,
seems a lot
yeah.
like somebody that knows what healthy relationships look like is in charge of that. And I personally think that is one of the greatest gifts that the counseling field offers to people of faith, is understanding how your relationships interact with each other and how being a Christian impacts those relationships.
Yeah. Yeah. All that to say, they don't open the letter.
They don't open the letter.
And that seems like so basic, but feels like such a win. I like that it's talked about, and it works so well in the character development where you're like, Buck is not accustomed to that level of privacy.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
or that level of care.
Right, for sure.
But even later in the episode, when Buck is kind of upset at Eugene, and he asks them to not talk about it, the fact that Eugene doesn't force the issue, even though he initially is like, this could be a problem, like, no, that's a good parent moment of just like,
yeah, good foster
and
parent.
it works out.
Yeah.
We're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, we are. So what comes up here is that Buck doesn't know any of his family history, which I'm like, they had to have known. Like, maybe I should have texted our resident foster care expert Arthur Woods to see some of this information, because I'm genuinely curious. But like, I don't know how they are fostering Buck without like seemingly a birth certificate, or like any knowledge about like his family at large. Like, I realize in like emergency situations and whatnot, some of that stuff can be circumvented, but it feels like this has like been established for years of the show now.
Yeah. So
it feels like there should be some manner in which like we know what's going on.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure. Like, I think it's insane that there is not a solitary piece of paper that has his mother's first and last name on it.
Or like this is the first time that any question of his lineage is coming up.
Yeah,
because he got like a school project that was like, hey, write down stuff about your family tree, and he's going, all right, well, I gotta like send a letter to a known criminal who raised me to see if I can find out any information here. And Eugene's like, what? Excuse me?
Let's just take a step back here before we're contacting the criminals. Yeah. No, it's I even have notes from, like, my notes are full of just praise for Eugene. His story, like, Buck's saying that Skin's story is that he's his uncle and that his parents died. And how does it come up that he got a phone call from Felicia Miller? Oh, he looked at Skint's phone, right?
Yeah. So he overheard a call that like referenced his mom to this person, and then got her, like, heard her name being Felicia Miller, and then saw on the caller ID that she was from Dillsburg. Millsburg.
Not Dillsburg.
Dillsburg is a real place.
Yep.
Millsburg is probably a real place, but not one I'm aware of.
Yeah.
And so
it's a 3-hour drive from Odyssey.
It is a 3-hour drive from Odyssey. I'll have to retroactively add that to the tour shirts, Andrew.
Yeah, no, I'm well, yeah, every time they bring up a location in relevance to Odyssey, I'm like, all right, I got to add it to my mental map as far as where it is.
Yeah. But the thing, so they go from that and are like, okay, well, we're like, Eugene's like, well, we should try and like track down this person. And Buck's basically like, no, like, I already tried that. It did not work like that. And that's that.
So Eugene is then at wit's end talking to Whit about the fact that Buck doesn't have any family history and he's not sure what to do about it. And in comes Penny and Wooten. And they've got the camera photos. They're there to look at them. Because Wit has recovered them. At this time, I would like to stand on my soapbox and tell you how much I love Penny and Wooten as a couple together.
Oh, yeah.
They
lovely.
are really cute, and they make me really happy, and the way that Wooten has developed as a character and Penny coming into it, as long as there's not a creepy age difference, I love them together. They're really cute and fun, and I'm glad that they make the quirky side character like Wooten find a soulmate that is just as goofy as he is.
Yeah, and get to put them more in the center of the show as a result.
Yeah, of course.
Like, we can't stress enough the fact that, like, the most recent version of the official guide is Connie, Eugene, Wit, and Wooten.
Yep. That's it. That's really it. I mean, he's the main guy. Well, and I suppose, with increased costs and everything and decreased production, you got to whittle down your cast, and those are those are your key players. And what they did with Eugene and giving him his character arc where he was an orphan and now he is a foster parent, is so cool, and that hits home.
I love it so much.
That alone gave me so much happiness regarding New Odyssey, where I was like, oh, that's so cool.
And I love that it sits in the subtext of this episode. That it doesn't feel like, and I'm sure with other Buck stuff, especially with the initial foster care, it came up a lot that Eugene had been fostered. I'm sure that was a point in the show. But I love in this episode that it's just it's there, and as a long-term time fan of the show, I understand part of the reason that Eugene is attacking this problem with such ferocity is because he knows what it's like to not know.
Yeah. And he knows what it's like to not know, and he also knows the what it would mean to know, and having the opportunity to make that connection, that drives him. And it is another worldly thing, and that's what ends up communicating to Buck in the end.
The whole thing with Penny and Wooten is that it's a bunch of pictures of
stuff that
things
Wooten likes that Wooten didn't take pictures of.
Right. And they're starting to think he's got a stalker.
Naturally. Wilbur's Waffle House is one of them, which is presumably rivaled
to
Al's Pancake
World.
That's Al's Pancake World? And then what's the diner's name?
Hal's Diner.
Hal's Diner.
Al's Pancake is Gilmore Girls.
Oh.
Hal's Diner.
They're basically the same thing. They really do blur together in my mind. If we had a Luke's, it would make even more sense.
Yep. Also, but they are a competitor as well to Frank's Breakfast Inn.
Yes, that was the first one, but that's in Odyssey? I don't know. I wasn't sure.
I think it is.
Canonically, it's in Odyssey.
I think they walked past it on the way back from Crystal Lake.
FBI... the phrase "modern art at its slimiest" in reference to the
gum statue
outside of the airport.
Yep.
Yeah, which is pretty powerful.
And so they eventually run into photos that are corrupt, and Wit's like, "Oh, I've got a data recovery program. I'm gonna go do that. I'll bring these back to you guys later." This is then when we have This is when we have the Buck and Eugene scene that we already referenced, right? Where he's talking about because that's right. This is the scene where he's cut up Katrina's magazine, and shows off a completely fake
family
tree.
Yeah.
He's like, look, Cousin Henry even looks like me. And Katrina's like, did you even have a Cousin Henry? He's like, I might. And Eugene's like, get in the car.
Yeah. We're leaving. We're finding your real family so you don't lie on your school assignment.
Yeah.
Which is really funny.
I love it.
Yeah.
Because, Eugene's just kind of like, we can, talk to your teacher. And he's like, I don't want to do that. I don't really want this to be a thing that everyone knows, whatever. And so...
they're talking about, so they're in the car then. Eugene and Katrina are in the car talking, which is great. I love the sound of that. I guess the audio engineering is really good for that. And they're talking
the road
about...
noises are a little aggressive.
True. I
Not
can't
as
say
bad
that
as
I
the
picked
water
it.
at the beginning. But.
Yeah, that was bad. That was really bad. I felt like I was inside of a fishbowl.
Yeah. You were jamming out with the pool boys?
Yeah, naturally. I mean, that's the only way to party underwater. So Buck mentioned, or Eugene talks about finding Felicia Larson, and she's in her 70s, and he's got an address, and he wants to go talk to her.
Right. The reason Buck couldn't find her previously is because that she married and is named Larson now, which is like that, as opposed to Miller.
Yeah.
Which is that whole thing. And then, they arrive at her door, and Eugene's like, yeah, I had called ahead, and she sounded cagey, but she
admitted to no. She says that, like, yeah, I don't know anything about this, but I think she does know something, so we're going out here anyway.
Yeah, well, and then...
Which is ridiculous.
Yes. And then she opens the door and is like, I've never seen him. I don't know what you want from me. Closes the door.
Yeah.
Eugene's like, I can't have that.
Yeah.
Knocks again and is like, look, like, level with me. Like, have you actually seen him? And she's like, yeah, he looks just like his mom. And I'm like, I don't know how this arc continues, or like what I don't know, and I'm not sure about is,
don't hedge your bets now. Spit from the hip.
So is this just a one-off episode in the greater Green Ring conspiracy, or is this episode going to tie into the long end?
I have no clue, and I really hope so.
Because it kind of just feels like, oh, this is like self-contained, but at the same time, like it like kind of closes the loop. Where I'm like, oh, maybe this is just like Buck realizing like, oh, I don't have any other family, and the family I've got is just enough. And like, it's really sweet if that is the point.
Yeah. And that's the goal of the episode, and it accomplishes it pretty well.
But I'm like, if this is truly all that it is, then it makes no sense that Felicia is that cagey.
No, yeah.
There's
got to be something else involved.
Maybe there's something else involved. What it just feels like is they were like, oh, we need conflict in this plot.
Yeah, Felicia
so she's
works
like
for the chairman.
Not going to. Well, she's just not gonna say anything, and they're gonna have to really pry. But then she like opens up and doesn't say anything like interesting. I guess the one thing that does hint that this will be a thing down the road is the fact that Skint continually called her asking about the papers.
Yeah.
Which does feel like that's a seed being planted. So maybe she does come back, and maybe or at least we find out some reason that she's cagey here. But it doesn't make sense within the context of the scene.
Certainly not.
It just feels like, oh, they just like needed to expand the runtime a bit, so they put up a roadblock.
Yeah. Well, and... Which they do also, again, where it's like we have these fake stakes of like, we found this camera, but it's okay, it still works. Oh, but we need to, retrieve the photos. It's okay, I've got a program. Oh, but some of these are corrupted. It's okay, I've got a program just for this. Like, and, so much of that's just Odyssey being Odyssey.
Sure, but this episode does feel like, does have a little bit more tediousness, perhaps.
Yeah. So then Wooten and Penny are they at Wit's End?
No. So Wit comes to visit them at their house.
Yeah.
And when he arrives, he has like gotten more of the pictures and shows them, and they're
like selfie pictures.
Yeah, so right, so it's like a bunch of random pictures like there had been, and then there are a couple pictures that are one picture that is a selfie. The blocks where Eugene is, or where the person taking the picture is blocked in the picture by their own thumb, but Wit's in the picture. This person is standing next to Wit taking a picture, and so they're like, oh, this has to be, yeah. And Wit's like, and Wooten's like, that's an awfully flamboyant shirt for you, Wit. And he's like, oh yeah, Connie got me that for my birthday. This must be where that's at. And I'm like, she got you a shirt for your birthday, and you were wearing it at your birthday, and that's the only time you've worn it?
It's quite the convenient memory, but yeah, no, I did have the same thought.
But I don't remember
Also, how
which
flamboyant is
birthday.
this shirt?
I've had a lot of them. And so Penny texts Connie, and Connie's like, I also don't remember what birthday, but I do remember it's the same birthday where they messed up the cake. And Wooten's like, oh, I remember hearing that story.
Yeah, it's the baby shower cake, which is like a cute moment. I like that.
Yeah, it is.
I like that Odyssey can do that.
And so Wit's like, okay, I'm going to look through my photo album, see if I can come up with a date for when these pictures were taken. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, so the whole story here is Felicia was the landlord or landlady for Buck's mother, who has a name that I am blanking on as well, and it doesn't see. I couldn't find it on the wiki. And I don't want to dig too deep because I don't need Buck spoilers.
Yeah.
But whatever Buck Oliver's actual last name, or at least his mom's maiden name, don't quite know what the situation is. But she lived in a house owned by Felicia for a year. Buck was a toddler then. But through the course of this conversation, she's like, "Yeah, I haven't seen her since years prior to when she passed." Which is the first we find out that like Buck's mom is dead.
And Buck didn't even know.
No. So he talks about what he knew from Skint was that his dad had died and his mom had run off.
Okay.
And that Skint is an uncle. Is like the story he's always been told. And Eugene very aptly points out, like, and we know that Mr. Skint would never lie.
Yeah.
Wink, wink. Like,
certainly would never twist the story.
Right, like
maybe he killed both of his parents to steal their child.
Yeah. Maybe it's a series of unfortunate events situation.
That would be an interesting turn for Odyssey to take. We could get Neil Patrick Harris in here.
Yes, please.
I'd like to hear his voice in a character. That'd be dope.
Yeah. He's got a good voice.
Certainly.
Plays a mean Batman. He's done the voice of animated Batman on multiple occasions.
Is he the one in Harley Quinn?
No.
Okay. Who is that?
I forgot.
Okay.
It is someone of note, but
yeah.
But no, he did the I don't know, yeah, some of the animated movies. I feel like Killing Joke is maybe him, or Batman Year One. Regardless. Oh no, Killing Joke's Conroy. So is it? It doesn't matter. Regardless. So yeah, so this is like the moment that Buck finds out that like, oh, at least of like his immediate family, if Skint's to be believed, and if Felicia's to be believed, but like, why wouldn't she be?
Yeah.
Like,
she just made up all this on the spot. She's just really good at improv.
Skint is behind the door holding a gun to her head.
Yeah. Now that, I mean, maybe that's in the long end.
That's the reason.
Actually,
that she like
Maury
closes the door
gave her
the
a phone
first
call. Yeah.
Maury gave her a phone call is a great joke, Andrew.
He's
Thank
manipulating
you.
her
Yeah.
from a distance.
He
It's
just
really
makes,
convenient.
The man just makes phone calls,
He just
and that's
makes
how
phone
stuff
calls.
happens.
Yep.
I wish
need a
that
plot?
wasn't true.
No, that it's one phone call away. 1-800-MAURY. Oh boy.
Yeah.
It's really Odyssey has lived many lives and served many masters. There's such great disparity.
Yeah. Anyways,
This just makes you don't listen to Novacom. It's also revealed that his name isn't Buck Oliver.
Yeah, well, she says that's not your name, but then she says, like, your mom... Like, so it seems like Buck is his name.
Yeah.
His last name is just whatever his mom's last name is, which we're blanking on. Because she says, like, oh, she used to always call you my little Bucky boy or whatever.
Yeah.
So, like, Buck was... Maybe Buck was just a nickname for that.
Oh.
And that he somehow inherited that.
Interesting.
But yeah, she doesn't provide a lot of additional information there.
No. And that's just the dramatic line that the scene ends on.
Right.
And then you cut to Wit and Penny and Wooten.
Yeah. And so, yeah, Wit has a video of, like, Wit has figured out who it is.
Yeah.
And shows up to Penny and Wooten with him on, like, FaceTime.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. He throws up his laptop and is like, I've got the owner of your camera here.
And it is the most convoluted and possibly just flat out dumb plot point that I think Odyssey has done.
It's bad.
It really bugged me where I was just like, I don't understand why this happened.
I mean, okay, so Wooten has a bad relationship with his dad, right? Which is established.
Yeah,
so
the rest
Bradford,
of his family, everyone except for his one cousin.
Mm-hmm. Bradford is, the closest thing to family he had, and Wooten wasn't doing well. And so what this scene tells you is that Bradford had come to Odyssey years before Wooten moved there.
No, right before Wooten moved there.
Right before Wooten moved there.
He was with Wooten's dad, who is Winston, I believe.
I don't know.
They're all W's. It doesn't matter. So he's with Wooten's dad on this business trip. His dad hates it. Refers to it as the mole of America.
Yeah, the mole on the back of him.
Yeah, whatever it is. Dumb.
The hair on the mole on the back. On the toad.
The flea on the hair on the back of America.
Oh, it's my favorite camp song.
And so
flea on the back of me.
And so he decides to spend extra time there, walks around, takes all these pictures of Odyssey.
Yeah, stuff that Wooten would like, that he thinks that Wooten would like, so he can sell Wooten on moving there.
Right, then he drops the camera in the pond while fishing, goes back to visit Wooten, and Wooten's like, I just heard about this place my dad hates. I'm gonna move there.
Which is amazing. I like that a lot. So that's his thought process of like, well, my dad hates it, so.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and so
he says, like,
it is weird. We get a flashback in this episode. I don't think we talked about that.
No, we haven't.
There's a full-blown flashback scene where we see this all take place between the conversation. Yeah, it's
talking to Bradford about kind of going through it and not having a good time, and
Bradford is the person who led Wooten to Christ, which was previously established on the show.
Yeah.
Because, it explains why Wooten's family is so bad and he is so good.
Basset Hounds, I believe, is the episode.
Good episode. We should do a Basset Hounds episode.
Yeah, we really should.
I like that one.
But with the chair.
Yeah, and so we get this scene. And so Wooten, decides that he's moving to Odyssey. And that's... Yeah, and then he ends up falling in love with all the things that, Bradford had thought that he was going to fall in love with.
Yeah.
And there's this whole thing where it's Bradford doesn't tell Wooten that he wanted him to move to Odyssey because Wooten got the idea himself and he just wanted him to feel like he had agency. And I'm I do appreciate that. I like the idea of oh God, moving through this whole thing. I don't love the weirdness of just it's just bizarre of Penny finds a camera that was lost by Wooten's godfather who dropped it in a lake after coming to Odyssey and plotting out what Wooten was going to do but never telling him about it.
Yeah.
And it's just it's this convoluted thing where the Wooten keeps thinking he's got a stalker, and then it's the bait and switch of no, this was all taken before you.
Yeah, it's all
just
love,
it's
not menace.
It's just a weird plot twist.
It is a weird plot twist, and
it just feels like Kathy Buchanan, as much as we love her, trying to be too clever for her own good and be oh, you're gonna fall for all these red herrings, but you'll never see what's coming. It's but this because what's coming didn't make any sense.
Yeah. Congratulations, you did some world building that is just kind of nonsense.
Yeah,
but. It's cool that they did some world building, and I do appreciate that. It's unfortunate in, the way that it kind of comes about doesn't make a ton of sense.
Yeah, well, and it's right. And it plays into this larger theme for the episode, which is the found family thing. And our final scene with Buck and Eugene.
Yeah.
Eugene's comforting Buck about the whole thing, and Buck presents what his like family tree is, and it's, you know, him with Connie and Eugene, and Whit's there, and
Katrina.
Jules is
and
there.
Jules is there, which on a family tree, what does that mean for the romance?
I know.
I'm not sure if that was intentional and they're trying to, you know,
Oh, I think they are.
they're trying to throw it to a familial thing.
No, oh no,
Right.
no. I'm assuming they're standing next to each other with a heart in between them.
I would like that. I would like that very much.
No, I do not think. I think it was very much of a like, oh, I've got like the idea of like, oh, we've got this family tree, and it's like, you know, my mom and dad in this scenario are Eugene and Katrina, and then like they're like Eugene's dad is Whit, and Whit, you know, has a daughter, Connie, and Connie has a younger sister who she kind of takes care of, whose name is Jules, who we haven't talked about yet in this show, but, you know, is a character that exists.
Yeah, and
she
very
apparently
exciting.
comes in during Ties That Bind, which is why we have not talked about her.
and never will.
Yep. But yeah,
those episodes.
It's I love a found family theme, and I appreciate what Kathy Buchanan is trying to do here, weaving this in with the Wooten thing of like his, you know, we get Bradford saying like, I always saw you as a son, and Wooten being like, yeah, I saw you as a father as well.
Yeah.
And like, it's really sweet, even if the plot leading up to that was convoluted.
Yeah. Well, and it's the sweet thing that I think, and I think that other religions also experience this, but like your second community that you have around your faith or around your, even if you're, you know, not spiritual at all, they become like family to you because they are what you intentionally choose to support you in times of struggle and, you know, choose to celebrate with in times of success. So yeah, it's really cool. I like it. I like it a lot. It makes me feel warm and fuzzy all inside.
Yeah. It's just
it's not without its flaws.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's not a great app, but like I appreciate it.
Not a great EP.
It's just right. It's not fantastic.
No,
it's not. But I
no
like
labyrinth.
the underpinning of it, and yeah, I am hoping that it's setting up like, hey, we're gonna get a little bit more into Buck's backstory in the future, because obviously, yeah, we're
nearing the end.
Yeah, the long end.
The longest end. So it means a 3-parter, so it's the longest part we could end on. I don't think there's any 4-parters that we've ended on.
That we've ended on now. I mean, there are 4-parters in the show. There's also a 12-parter and a 14-parter.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anything else you want to say, Andrew?
No. I mean, like, I'm excited to see where this goes. I like Buck's character a lot, and I have a lot of mixed feelings about this era of Odyssey and what it chooses to do with existing characters that I have so much affection for over the years, like Connie and Eugene and Wooten. But this episode shines pretty brightly in that respect, where, you know, we get Wooten and Penny and being all cute and great together, and we get Eugene and Katrina being great parents.
Yeah.
And, you know, we don't see Connie, but obviously there's all of that going down with
We
Jules.
do hear a text message from Connie.
Yes. She's involved, of course.
She bought Eugene a bright teal shirt.
Oh, really?
Or, sorry, Whit.
A bright teal.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
That must have been.
Penny wants to buy one for Wooten, and he likes that idea.
I mean,
yeah.
Teal. You can fit it.
Yeah.
That being said.
Yeah.
Do we have any, like...
Reviews? We do have a new review, Andrew.
Wow!
Beautiful segue. So, user Terminal64 left us a review that says, "Great! Although I don't really agree with your opinions, the show is very enjoyable and interesting. 5 stars."
Aw, thanks for the 5-star review, buddy.
Yeah.
Terminal 64.
Terminal 64. Yeah.
Those are my favorite 5-star reviews, when they say, we don't like you a little bit, but, like, we still like your show.
Yeah.
But then, I mean, in all seriousness, I do appreciate that.
I'm a big fan of disagreement. And then we will
greater love.
We'll be back next week to talk about episode 859, The Long End Part 1.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Wadfam Chalk Pod is a presentation of the Lidditz Podcast Co-op. Follow the podcast at Wadfam Chalk Pod on Twitter and Instagram, or email us at wadfamchalkpod@gmail.com. Out of the Picture was hosted by Dylan Weaver and Andrew Acebo and edited by Dylan Weaver. And I'm Nathan Haverstick, hoping you'll join us again next time for more of the Wadfam Chalk Pod.